Kia ora everyone, my name is Bridget Snelling and I am the Country Manager for Xero New Zealand. Today we are so lucky to have Dr. Elizabeth Berryman joining us for a session on supporting our well-being, particularly around personal psychological health and burnout prevention. We're going to learn some practical ways small business owners can support their personal psychological health and how to create a plan to be proactive in protecting ourselves. So I'm very excited to introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Elizabeth Berryman. Hi, Liz.
Kia ora, everyone. Hi.
Liz has a wealth of experience in the health sector, starting her career as a registered nurse in community Māori health before becoming a medical doctor. In 2017, she founded Channel, a startup with a mission to engage employees and monitor personal mental well-being and provide direct feedback, enabling management to take action in real time. She is hugely passionate about supporting people's mental well-being through digital tools. Hi, Liz. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to pass over to you to take it from here.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Bridget. Kia ora, everyone. And it's nice to see you all online. I can see there's almost 300 people, which is super exciting. And I think it's a very topical topic. So I'm just going to share my screen and get started. Today, I'm going to take us on a bit of a journey, and we're going to use the analogy of a summer road trip for preparing for our mental well-being, just like we would for a summer road trip. So what do we need to do when we plan to go on a summer road trip? Well, we need to make a plan. We need to know where we're going. We need to know what location we're going to go, what roads we're going to take, and we're going to need to know we're going in a car or we're going to fly. We need to make a plan. It's the same when it comes to our mental health. We want to look at where we're going to be in, say, 3 or 4 months' time. Say it's February, March next year. Where do you want to be? What's your destination and your goal that you want to be? Think about how you're going to feel. Are you going to feel very motivated? You're going to feel full of life? You're going to feel very excited about facing the next year? Or are we not going to feel that way? So think about where you want to be and how you want to feel in 3 or 4 months' time. And then it's time to sit down and take some time to make a plan. We don't often do this with our mental health. We often do it with our physical health. We sit down and we go, oh, I need to eat better and I need to exercise. But often we don't really think about that when it comes to our mental health. But you'd agree with me, it's just as important that we do that. So if you can, take some time in your calendar, schedule out a good 2 or 3 hours and sit down and go, okay, so I know when I'm feeling good, when I'm feeling well, and when I'm at my peak performance, this is how I feel, and then make a plan to how to get there. So some of the things you consider in your plan is about over summer, over Christmas, am I going to take time to build some social connections? Am I going to take moments to reach out to friends and family that I might not have seen for a while and build those social connections, because you know that that is something that builds your well-being. For other people, it might be music. We talked about summer roadie songs. Take some time to go, actually, I'm going to build in some time to do some music and to build that into my routine for my plan for my mental health over summer. Some other things that you can think about is around ensuring that there's like 4 different areas that we can do with our mental health, and it comes under Te Whare Tapuwha. So it's about the physical well-being, spiritual well-being, physical well-being, and whānau and social supports. So if you're thinking about a plan, you can look at those 4 different areas and make it quite a holistic plan for yourself for your mental well-being. Technology can be good, but also it can be bad. So if we're using it when we're on the motorway and we're on our phone and not on hands-free, then that is a danger and a risk zone. So let's talk about that with our mental health. So there's some amazing research by Professor Jared Haar from AUT University, and his research is in burnout. And one of the things that he discovered from his burnout surveys during lockdown and beyond is around this concept of being tethered to our phones or tethered to technology. So what's happened with lockdowns is that we've now, got a computer in our pocket, and we've got our, oh, everyone's ringing me. Okay, anyway, I'll keep going. So we've got technology in our pockets, we've got emails. There's no barrier between home and work. And so our technology and our work is creeping in. And so what we're realizing is that actually this is a huge stress point for our brains. We need to have that break time between technology, between work and home. And so technology is bringing blurring those lines. So what his research showed was that people that untethered from their devices for at least 24 hours were able to decrease their risk of burnout. Absolutely fascinating. So just 24 hours of untethering. Now, what untethering means is actually complete break. So not just, oh, I'm just going to switch off my work stuff, but actually all your social media and everything else as well. So I thought it was a great opportunity over summer when we have got some time to be at the beach with friends and family, just to have that in your back of your head and go, actually, can I completely untether for 24 hours? Like, I'm with my family. If there's something's going to happen, someone will have their phone and they'll get a hold of me. But just for 24 hours, can I just let my brain completely untether from technology? So that is one of the aspects of technology that is not so good for burnout, but there is some good things. So as mentioned in the introduction, my research is in e-mental health and in digital health therapies. And what we found is that actually we can use tech for good. And there's some amazing products out there, and Channel, which is what we run, is have some options for people to be able to put those goals in place to manage the use of technology, and being able to understand exactly how we can monitor our mental health through our technology, but also promote it as well. So using technology for good and being in control of it. Cool. So we're going to plan our rest stops. This is something as small business owners, I think we're really good at, is just keeping on, keeping going, and just pushing through and being like, oh, okay, I'll let my team have a rest day, but actually I'm just going to keep working through. And I think over summer, it'd be really important for us to actually book in those rest stops. It's actually okay to take a long weekend and to take out a Monday or a Friday and just be like, actually, guys, I'm taking some time for my well-being. Modeling that kind of behavior is really, really good for your team to see that you are prioritizing your mental health. If you're saying to them, I want you to prioritize your mental health, but then you're not taking those actions yourself, they see and do one other thing. So try and book in those rest stops, because we know that we're always going to have things coming in. We're always putting out fires. But for now, try and look at some times in your calendar where you can book out some of those rest stops. And then try and do that untethering. But like, even if it's just an afternoon, go, okay, I'm going to take 3 hours. I'm going to go to the beach and have my rest stop, and untether from technology as well. And then just check in with yourself and go, actually, how do I feel after that? Am I feeling better? Am I getting more clarity? And things like that. So recognize early warning signs. So now we're on our road trip. We're on our way to our destination. And we've got our dashboard in front of us. And we can see a whole lot of things that's giving us information about how we're doing. And one of those key points of information is the dash lights lighting up. So if we see the oil light coming on, we know that we're not going to be able to keep driving. We're going to have to stop, pull over, and get that checked. So this is a really, really important part of mental health and well-being, is being able to recognize those early warning signs in yourself and be like, actually, I can see those early warning signs like sleep. Sleep is a really, really clear indicator. So if you're not sleeping, if you're waking up early in the morning, if you are waking up in the middle of the night with racing thoughts, unable to get to sleep, those are some of the early warning signs that might be going, hey, actually that oil light's on, I might pay to get that checked. So some other things is that sometimes we can't recognize those early warning signs ourselves. And it could be quite a cool thing to be like, check to a friend or check to a family member that you trust and be like, hey, if you recognize some of these early warning signs, can you let me know? For instance, like for me in particular, I think one of the things I do when I'm stressed is actually I swear a lot. And so one of my colleagues, he's like, oh, actually, you're swearing a little bit more, Liz. Are you okay? Is things okay? And I'm like, oh, actually, I am a bit stressed at the moment. Maybe I will take a check-in with my counsellor and see if there's some stress reduction things that I can do. So it might be different for you. Think about what your early warning signs are. Ask your friends and family, what do you think my early warning signs is? Because we know that preparation and being prepared is key. So look at your dashboard for indicators. The next thing is that when those indicators come on, what do you do? So you've got your oil light on, you're pulled over on the side of the road, who are you going to call? Well, you might have roadside assistance, you might have AA, you've got it in your phone. You've got *222 or whatever the number is, you know who to call and they can come and help you. So do the same for your mental health. 1737. Pick up your phone right now and put that number in. 1737 is the national helpline number for mental health, and anyone that you want to have a call. And now it might not be you that's broken down the side of the road. It might be one of your employees. It might be a friend. So you need to have that number on hand so you can share and go, hey, this is the number 1737. You can text them or call them. The other thing you can do is the Xero assistance program called ZAP. So if you are a Xero user, you check out their ZAP website. I think I have it here, or Bridget can put it in the chat as well, where to go, and you can get access to 3 sessions of counselling. So you have that number as well, because when you're in distress, when you're on the side of the road and things feel a bit overwhelming, your brain goes a bit mushy. It doesn't think logically like it normally does. The front part of your brain shuts down. So it's really good to have these things in place now, know where to get them, so that when you're in those moments of crisis and distress, that you know exactly what to do and you know the number to call, and you can talk to someone who can talk you through the process. So I'd recommend that doing that right now is getting those numbers to knowing who to call. Another aspect of Professor Jared Haar's research on burnout was to recognise things that increase risk. So he's got an amazing write-up, which I'm happy to share with you, about some of the things that increase risk. And one of those things is working hours. So no surprise, the longer that you work, the more at risk you are for burnout. In fact, for those in the study who worked more than 55 hours a week, were 400 times more likely to experience burnout. So kind of the analogy here is around speeding. So if you're going to the speed limit, say 40 hours a week, then you've got a lower risk of burnout. If you're going, 110, 120 Ks an hour, you're more likely to increase your risk of having an adverse event, car crash, or getting a speeding ticket. So the same kind of applies for working hours. So the more that you work, so over 55 hours, and then he saw if you worked over 65 hours, and then the most high risk, which pretty much like if you continue to work at 80 hours a week, you were going to end up in burnout. It wasn't just an increased risk, it was a correlation. So working hours is really key. And I think as small business owners, especially during the summer months, if you're in retail or if you're in a construction industry or something like that, where there's like a huge amount of pressure to get things done by Christmas, or the Christmas crunch is coming, then just to watch out for those hours. So if you are working, 80 plus hours and you have to do that, then make sure that you've got other protective factors in place. So you know that you've got higher risk here. So what are the other things that you can do to put protection in for yourself? So those kind of things are like actually making sure that you've got those rest stops put in. So you might be working 80 hours, but you can have a rest stop and you can take a 4-day week at some point. So making sure that you can plan that out and being aware of the warning signs and the things that increase your risk. The next thing is driving to the conditions. So I think it's safe to say that we have all been through an incredible pressure cooker with the COVID lockdowns. And I was actually in Australia last week speaking at a conference. And after my presentation, there was another presentation about worldwide data on how everybody has bounced back post-COVID. And it was actually interesting to see that the UK and the USA have actually almost bounced back to the normal levels of pre-COVID. But in Australia and New Zealand, we were actually still lower. So we're 20% lower than what we were pre-pandemic. And so I think it's just quite good just to call that out and be like, we're actually still going through a whole lot of stuff. We're still processing what we've been through. We're still, got workforce pressures, and there's still a lot of hangovers. And just to admit that and say, actually, the conditions right now, they're not the same. Then is pretending that they are is not helpful. So being able to call that out, talking to employees and people and saying, like, actually, we're going to have to drive to the conditions. Like, we don't have the amount of staff that we should have. So what's some things that we can do to address it? And how can we slow down, or perhaps look at different ways of doing things because the conditions have changed. How am I doing for time? We're a bit over because my tech glitch, but just to say here that I've got an example of an early warning sign. So as I said, sleep is one of the early warning signs that something is potentially stressful or not going so well. And so one of the things is that you can wake up in the night and you have those thoughts going round and round and round. Some of those thoughts are called rumination. where you rethink the same thing over and over again or overthink it. And so one of the cool things that we can do in therapy is talk about taking off ramps. And so if you are feeling that you're having those same thought patterns, we say, this is the motorway, right? As soon as you start thinking about the same thing over and over again, it becomes a neural pathway, and the neural pathway becomes so well trodden that it becomes like a highway and a motorway, and the thoughts go faster and faster. So we need to reprogram the brain. Reprogram the brain means we need to sometimes say, hey brain, we need to take an off ramp, we need to change some of our thinking patterns. This takes time, and it takes sometimes support and therapy to do it. And we've also found that medication, such as antidepressants, can also help with this. So it does help stabilize mood, but it also can help neurodegeneration, which means that we get new growth and new pathways forming. So not only does medication help with mood, but it can help with us reprogramming our brain into healthier thinking patterns so that we don't get stuck on the motorways and we get really great new pathways forming. And my 10 points, the last one, is a new perspective. When we get to our destination, we arrive at the amazing beach or the location that you have chosen, you get a new perspective. You change your scene and you go, oh my gosh, things aren't as bad as what I thought they were. Or actually, I can see it from a whole new angle now and I've got a whole new idea. So getting a new perspective is sometimes a really great point, especially in business, when you're thinking about, the new way forward and what we're going to plan for the next couple of years. Getting that new perspective and getting some height sometimes, getting up on high and having a look can sometimes help by being in nature, as well as it helps us with our thinking and our mental health as well. So what we do at Channel is we help people make good work conditions. So making sure that we've got the right environment for people to thrive. We ensure that people have got good health and they've got those good things in place to support their mental health. And together, when we have good work conditions and good health, we can have full potential for our organizations and our employees. So thank you for your time. And I'm really excited to see some Q&A with Bridget now.
I'll kick things off, Liz. So that was fascinating. And I absolutely love the analogy of the summer roadie, because I think we can all relate to that. And by the responses we had earlier, we can see that people love to take a road trip. But something you mentioned that I thought was really so apt was about how we are tethered to technology. And I know, I know that I try really hard when I'm with my kids to not be on my phone, but you've got people with different demands. Everyone wants to ask you something and they want a response straight away. What is something that you do or that you encourage others to do to try and break that habit of reliance, because it is something I feel like we're all addicted to. So what would you recommend? Like for me over the summer, what should I do to try and reduce my reliance on my phone?
Yeah, absolutely. So something that so Tech for Good. So Apple have put in this bedtime routine that you can set in the new iOS. And I've been using that and it's been really helpful. So it'll go, bedtime now, time to wind down. And I actually didn't realize that it put my phone on focus mode as well. And so it actually stops any notifications coming through and it puts you into this like, okay, now you're not going to be on your phone so much. So if you don't have that, if you're on an Android, I think there are some apps that you can get as well that will help set with that bedtime focus routine and untether. And then once I discovered this focus mode, I actually use it all the time now. So if I want to have we have Wednesday morning deep work time. So for 2 hours, I'll set the focus. And so only emergency calls can come through and like daycare, because, that's an emergency. Yeah. So making sure that's there, and then it's actually really productive because I'm not getting all these pings all the time and notification distracting. Yeah,
I love that. That's so good. I think that's the thing. We can make the most of the technology by using the features it gives us to help us not be so tethered to it, can't we? Okay, now I've got heaps of questions coming through, so let me quickly fire into them. So let me just go back up to the top. Could you just my box keeps flipping around. This is from Mason. Mason asks, if you could recommend 3 things weekly to improve my mental well-being, what would these be?
Yeah, fantastic. So I thought about that. I was like, the one takeaway that I actually want for small businesses today is actually to look after your own mental health and well-being. It's that whole saying about put the oxygen on first before putting on oxygen on somebody else. The thing is that you're not going to be able to help anybody else if your tank is low. If you've got no fuel in the tank, if you're feeling low and burnt out, you're not going to be able to help your employees. You're not going to be able to help your colleagues. you need to be the best that you can be to empower those around you and to build a great business. So over summer, go, actually, I am going to prioritize myself. I am going to put fuel in the tank, and I'm going to do that, not for me, but for my team as well. I think we're quite martyrdom and we go, no, well, I've got to be the hardest working person in my business. We know that, but we need to model that behavior as well for our employees. So the three things I'd say is do the basics and do the basics well. So the basics are making sure you have a routine for exercise, making sure you're eating right, making sure you're sleeping right, and making sure you have a plan, the plan in place for when things go pear-shaped, because sometimes they do. Have a plan to know what to do.
That is great advice. And following on from that, there's another question that says, how do you manage other people's expectations? So you want to be unavailable, you want to untether, but some people don't want to let you do it. Any advice for how to manage other people's expectations? Which is a good one.
Oh, that is a good one. Boundary setting. Boundaries. So bloody hard to do. Myself, I find it very hard. I think there's some great books and some podcasts and things you can learn about boundary setting. And it's funny because the more that you actually do set the boundaries, people respect that. And it's actually healthy. It's healthy for relationships to have boundaries. So don't think it as a bad thing, like, oh my gosh, I'm a difficult person because I'm saying no. Actually, it's good and it's healthy to have boundaries.
Amazing. Thank you. And boundaries are so important. So there's lots of questions here, and I'm just trying to make sure some of them are very similar. So I'm just trying to group them. One of the questions is, what are some other early risk signs apart from sleep issues?
Yeah, great. Okay. Drinking more, but we're difficult during the Christmas time because we all tend to be a bit happy. But if you notice that you're drinking more than normal, and especially if you're daytime drinking, that's definitely an indicator. And if you notice that in somebody else or in yourself, go, actually, I probably do need to go and take myself off to the doctor and have a chat. Just other things like your stress levels. Like, I think what we noticed, that data I said from Australia, is that we haven't quite recovered. And so what we're starting to see is that people are like simmering along, and it's just one little thing, and then they'll spark off and they'll go really in your face. I think customers as well, like something will happen and they'll just fly off the handle, and you're like, that's totally unproportional to what the stimulus was. And I think that is just a sign that people are simmering along, and to take that kindness and to go, actually, it's not about me, it's not about this issue, they've got other stuff going on that they're dealing with, and to take that compassionate, empathetic approach before just reacting back to them and being like, why are you so angry?
Yeah. And people are asking, did we miss a section on how you do your own check-in before you take off on the road trip with your mental well-being?
We built an app for check-ins. It's called Channel. So if you want to know how to do check-ins for yourself and for your team, there's the Channel app available. It's only available. We actually, you have to have a minimum of 10 people to be able to use the Channel platform, because we do data and insights and be able to see like what are the main issues coming up that we can put some controls in. You can design your own check-in, and it's a really good habit to get into. So highly recommend doing a check-in with yourself and with your team. Really easy to do. Sometimes you can just say, hey, how are you guys going out of 5? Just give me a number. Are you a 1? Are you a 5? How are you doing? And so it's a good way for people to be like, actually, I'm just a 3. And then you know, okay, this is where that person's at. You don't need to know why. You just need to know that they're a 5 or they're a 1.
Liz, there's a few questions here about rumination, which you touched on, and people asking, how can I address this without therapy, or is there another way to break rumination other than medication or professional counselling?
Yes, that's a good question. So there's lots of self-help out there. The beauty about Google is that you can get things at your fingertips. There is some amazing, it's based on CBT, so cognitive behavior therapy, has a lot of tips and tools to be able to break some of those thinking habits and biases that we have. So give a Google of CBT. There's some apps out there. Just a Thought is a great app. I think it's free. It's amazing. So it takes you through self-help with breaking some of those thinking habits and generating new pathways.
So look, we're going to have to wrap it up there for time, but thank you everyone for attending this webinar. I hope you've found something very useful out of the content. I'm sure you have, as I have. I think there's some great tips for us to take on board as we head into the very busy summer period before we all head away on our own road trip. So Liz, thank you so much for your time today. That was fascinating, and obviously you're a font of knowledge, and I'm sure there'll be lots of people checking out the Channel app to get some more insights. So thanks so much.
Thank you.